Hey guys, Ash here from C4E Tech, and welcome to another episode of Ash Answers, brought to you by Lenovo ZUK. In this episode, we're going to be again taking your questions that you've tweeted out to us with the hashtag Ash Answers. And sorry about last week, a certain somebody let the set the lens on autofocus, so it was all over the place, and we couldn't actually air that video, though we actually shot it. So my apologies for that. So anyway, guys, my name's Ash. This is Sundar, and let's get your questions again. Ash Answers, powered by Lenovo ZUK.
What was your favorite T9, QWERTY, flip slider types of phones from early period of last decade?
For me, my favorite was the 3650, the one with the circular keypad. That's like, I was back in college. I wanted a phone, and my dad wouldn't get me one. My mom got me one, but she insisted that there be no camera on it for whatever reason. So I don't even remember what phone. She just got it. I went right out and sold it. And then I had put together some money and I bought a 3650 with that. So that's like my favorite phone of all time. Unfortunately, it was raining, and it got wet, and the phone conked out about a year and a half later. But that's probably my favorite phone.
Favorite?
Uh-huh.
Good, I thought it was the Galaxy Note.
Yeah, that's current.
All right.
The question is from last decade. So unless there was a note in the last decade.
So for me, it's D900 from Samsung. It's a slider phone actually. So actually, my mom was using it, and then she pushed it towards me, and she got a new phone. So it was a good phone. I was a Samsung fanboy back then. I was looking at the Omnia HD2, but then after that I got the iPhone 3GS instead, and then I became an Apple fanboy.
See, he's
fanboy.
Admitted to it.
Do you think removal of 3.5mm headphone jack by La Echo and Moto was innovative or done following leaks about iPhone 7?
Following the leaks about the iPhone 7.
Yes.
And I'm sure someone's gonna say they needed to remove it. It is too small. That applies to the Moto, but not really to Leica. So yeah.
The sample shots which you use for your camera reviews look great. Who takes those alluring photos?
So it's
Not me.
there's another colleague of ours, Arun. He handles all the photos, some of the B-rolls, and the gaming reviews, C4E games. He does all that. So basically, this is how a camera review goes. He goes out, gets shots, and we actually just walk around. If I'm doing it or he's doing it, we walk around getting some samples from here to check what our thoughts are. But then when we are actually portraying it, we use his samples so that it's not redundant, and we don't bore you with the same images over and over again. The same images, I use it only for the unboxings, so just around the office.
What do you feel about Samsung recalling Note 7? How do you feel about this gesture?
So I actually am all for it. I like the fact that Samsung's owned up to the issue instead of a certain other brand. Like for example, take the whole Bengate metaphor. If you look at it, if Apple doesn't feel they were at fault, they wouldn't go ahead and fix it with the success. So they knew they were at fault, but there was no recall, there was no exchanges offered. But on the other hand, here Samsung could have silently just changed stuff around. For the newer phones, it's just one batch of batteries. I don't know exactly, but whatever, they could have just halted the production and sales. But right now they're going and offering a recall. So respect to Samsung for it.
Even I tweeted out a number of times on Twitter that Samsung really earned my respect for this. So talking about that, would you recommend the Note 7 when it's back?
Definitely.
Yeah, but a lot of people don't think so, and I don't see why. Geeky Ranjit started a poll on Twitter, and about 80% of people voted that they won't be getting the Note 7 when it's back. I was actually shocked
No,
at the
see,
results.
the point is, it depends on the demographic. So probably people who are looking more at budget oriented devices. Overall, if you're taking a segment, a demographic of people who are buying phones over 40,000 rupees, maybe, yeah, I'd
Yeah, the
say.
question was when would you buy it when it comes back? So about 20% of people voted that they'd be
No, what
going
I'm
for the
saying
iPhone.
is, of, uh, I'm saying of the 80% who claimed they wouldn't buy it, most of them would probably not buy a phone in that segment anyway.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So
about 20% of the people voted that they'd be going for the new iPhone 7 or 7 Plus. So I don't find the point there because Samsung has recalled it to fix the battery, fix the issue. So when it's back, it must be good. Or I get it. Even if I were in your place, then I would wait for a few months. Or my first thought would be no, not go for the Note 7. But then the remaining 20% of the people are gonna get it back, get the Note 7 again. So maybe wait for the reviews or whatever. Like um, if the battery has been fixed, so wait for it. If it's good enough, then yeah, go for it again.
okay.
Is removing a headphone jack really a big deal if it's at the cost of ingress protection? Would you like a future with one unified port to rule them all? How about a smartphone with multiple such master ports? Dual speakers, cameras, SIMs, screens, and now ports? That's a big question.
Yeah, you can't expect anything smaller from Amartya. So anyway, uh, I don't see headphone jack removal at
At
the
the
cost
cost
of
of
ingress
ingress
protection.
protection, I don't see the point there
I don't
because
see the connection between both
yeah,
because,
because Samsung did a better IP rating, like IP68,
yeah.
with the headphone jack.
Yeah.
So
See, guys, right now, yeah, does it give you better audio? Yes. But right now, we still haven't hit, we still aren't where we want to be with regards to battery life. So at this point, going slimmer uh, just doesn't work because just look at the Moto Z, a 5.5-inch display with a 2600 milliamp hour battery. Nah. So they could have gone a little bigger, maybe even added a 3.5 mm headphone jack. If a manufacturer is able to come up with a phone that would give me 1 day's battery life, something around the S7's mark or the iPhone 6s Plus's mark, somewhere around that. And if that phone happens to be too slim for a 3.5 mm headphone jack, I'd understand. That's the one scenario where I would say that's the way, that's the way of the future. So someone's got to start doing it. I can live with it. Otherwise, no.
when will Jio Broadband be live? Will there be cheap 100 megabit plans? Don't want the gigabit connection yet because it would be too pricey.
See, it depends on perceptions. I mean, the broadband, as far as I know, is not going to be live till late 2017,
Mid or late
mid or
2017.
late
Yeah.
2017. So again, as far as prices go, I don't know.
I don't know, but going by how Jio plans have
Yeah, it
come
would
out,
be
yeah,
cheap, but it wouldn't be dirt cheap as people
dirt cheap.
expect. So I'm pretty
There
sure
are already a few companies offering dirt cheap plans. I wouldn't say dirt cheap, but cheap plans
cheap
like
plans like
ACT,
ACT and U
U
Broadband.
Broadband.
The fact here is this is how it's gonna be, guys. You can actually, if you have I mean, you can actually just note this down. You know, this is how it's gonna be in the months leading up to the launch of the broadband. You're gonna see a lot of people who want the clicks post stuff like the broadband's gonna be this cheap, that cheap, blah blah blah, build up the hype and set unrealistic expectations that when it actually comes out, you're gonna see the same people come back and talk about, oh my god, Reliance is so expensive, they screwed it up, they are cheating people. Okay, so expect that trend to continue.
Which new brand that you're following is the next big player that's gonna create ripples in the smartphone industry?
There's nothing really. ZUK is again its
Xiaomi was
Lenovo.
doing it.
Xiaomi is not a new brand anymore.
Not
Xiaomi is
yeah
like
yeah.
six,
So
7 years
yeah,
old.
yes. A few years back it was Xiaomi, but now What do you think?
ZUK seems good, but again, if you're going to classify it as Lenovo, then they're not really new. ZUK seems decent, and
What about that Turing phone?
its concept. I mean, I'll believe it when I see it. I used to, what is that? What is this? The Sega's V squared, right? Where's that phone of? Where is that? So yeah,
Where's the Freedom 251?
I
Oh
don't
yeah,
know.
why can't it be in this list?
What
Yeah, I feel they're gonna be the next
ringing
big
bells?
brand. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Do you think if Nokia had kept Lumia, it would have been able to be in the market?
If at the point where they had to pick between Android and Windows, had they gone Android, there's a good chance they would have survived, because even with, I don't know, with absolutely nothing, just with a smaller service chain, uh, with lesser reach, brands like HTC and Sony and LG are still surviving, going Android. They never had the kind of penetration, or the kind of they weren't as household a name when it came to phones as Nokia was. But even then, those brands are still hanging on by a thread, some of them, but still hanging on nonetheless. So Nokia, there's a good chance they might have done well. There's a good chance they might have at
There's a
least
good chance,
survived.
yeah.
So yeah.
Even with Windows Phone, the Lumia did well. Lumia 1020.
See, with Windows phones, the 1020, it was talked up a lot. It was actually the 520 and the 5 series that actually did
5,
well, 5 and
6.
6. That's what caused Google to come up with the Android One initiative, because right at the grassroots, like if you can see today, India is one of the most important markets, and a couple of years back is when that realization was hitting brands, because the United States was getting saturated, and China isn't a market Google can enter. So when it was, and that's where Microsoft and Nokia were doing well. They were selling a lot of phones in the lower mid segment, and given that Android phones weren't giving a good experience, Samsung's Galaxy Y, and what is that, HTC Wildfire, how those phones performed. So at that point, the Windows phones were doing well, but then Android One came in, and that didn't have traction, and then entered Xiaomi. That was the final nail in the
Turning
coffin.
point.
Chinese OEMs entering India.
Will YouTubers say iPhone 7 Jet Black is glossy, fingerprint magnet, and blah 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 repeatedly?
What do you think?
Yes,
Here's
we
a
will.
poll. Let me know.
We probably will, because that's what it is. It's a fingerprint magnet. It's probably a fingerprint magnet from what I have read so far. Justify this statement with using some examples. Most smartphone industries don't innovate nowadays. They just increase specs.
What do you mean by innovation? We've had motor mods. We've had brands like being courageous and omitting the headphone jack. And then what else have we had? See,
A lot.
we've had a lot of evolution, nothing revolutionary, but then again, we've got phones that are extremely sleek with 4,000 milliamp hour batteries inside. Xiaomi's been doing a great job on the battery front. So's been Samsung. So there's still room for improvement, but I agree there's not been anything revolutionary in a while, because that's how it seems right now. Because even your low end chips, your Snapdragon 410s and your 430s are performing really well. So they are giving you a decent user experience. Today, I actually loved using my Redmi 3S. So I could honestly spend time with the Redmi 3S, or what else in that segment, or okay, something a little higher, the Lenovo, I mean the ZUK Z1, or the Redmi Note
K5 Note.
3, or the K5. I haven't used the K5 Note, so I can't vouch for it. But yeah, these phones, they do come across well. So yeah, there's not been a lot of gap, lot of difference between the flagships and the starter chips. There are differences, but what I mean is, performance wise, everything is kind of a little smoother these days. A couple of years back, the flagships were great, they were giving you a good experience. The lower end phones were not. So that's when you felt the difference every generation. When we moved up, the lower end phone started getting smoother and smoother, and that felt like a bigger step up. Now it's just a little bit of higher resolution and whatnot. So
Yeah.
I agree that it's not been a revolutionary change, but we've had evolution. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, that's what increasing specs, like you said, it's important because, like you said, 2 years back we didn't have any good lower end variant phones, and now we do. But then I don't entirely agree with your statement, that the statement that you asked to justify, but because they do innovate, there is a lot of innovation nowadays. Because yeah, like you said, with the motor mods, and Samsung bringing an iris scanner, and Apple bringing 3D touch. I had to mention that somewhere.
Huawei bringing Force Touch
Yeah,
and
so
Apple copying it.
I can't really expect Chinese brands or brands that sell phones at a very cheap price to really innovate a lot, because they're concentrating on a demographic that um, people who are interested to get a really good phones, really good performing phones at a cheaper price. So you don't really get to see a lot of innovation in that segment. But that said, Xiaomi has done well with the battery, with regards to battery, like you said. That's
Yeah, so okay, because you brought up a good point here. So in the last few years, with the whole focus moving towards markets like India, and with the Chinese players entering here, and India being a price sensitive market, we don't have the contract system. So entering a place like this, it's become more of a fight and more of a competition with regards to cutting down costs, better value for money. So that comes at the expense of innovation, of course, because the flagship phones aren't doing as well as they used to a few years back. It's kind of hit saturation point, and so with more and more brands trying to be competitive and bringing phones at cheaper prices, that's how it is. I mean, just think about it. This year, there were so many people who were pissed that the Mi 5 was priced at 25,000. So if you can go back a couple of years and look at the kind of stuff we got before Xiaomi entered India, the kind of stuff we got at 25,000, don't even have to make any allowances for changes in exchange rates or inflation. But even if you just look at it, that's the kind of change that has happened, a revolution in terms of pricing at the expense of innovation. That's all the time we have for today's episode, guys. Thanks a lot for sending your questions in. If you did like this video, if you didn't, and for more videos, hit that subscribe button down below. And by the way, I'm working with a bunch of other YouTubers and bloggers on a small giveaway. I'll leave a link to that in the description. Do check that out. And you want to close it?
Yeah, so that's it. Thanks a lot for watching. This is Sundar and Ash from C4E Tech, leaving for the moment.
Have a nice day. Bye bye now.